So today, very fun. I have someone who I'm very excited to introduce you to because she's awesome. She's Janice and I have had the chance to hang out in person a bit when I was in New York. She came to my one day there, and we got to have dinner together. And she's now a part of my dream team. So she does dream analysis for my soul convergence program. And she's just a phenomenal, brilliant person. She has an amazing day job, which is not even the point of this conversation. This is her future job, is what we're talking about, her new job, where she's headed in life. And so Janice, and let me go ahead and bring her on screen. So I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Janice and myself so you can see Janice. Where are you, Janice? There you are. And so this is Janice. Janice, welcome. And like I said, I know Janice very well through her dream work, which is just amazing. So welcome to our wisdom suit, Janice.
Oh, and thank you so much. And thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to talk about this galactic partner integration because it was just such a surprise that I was even led to do it. And then what me and the group discovered along the way was so fun. And I'm just so happy that I get to share that.
Awesome. All right. Well, take it away. We can't wait to hear what you've got to share.
I was led to do this galactic partner integration because my dreams told me to do that. And so one dream I had maybe a month or so before I offered it was that I was going to offer something that was going to help people sort of increase the confidence around their connection, around their light conduit connection. And I said, okay, maybe that's going to be a class, or, I really didn't know what it was. And then I had a dream that basically had me and a galactic partner. And that's what it was in my dream. And it had us switching places. And at that point, I had never even heard the term galactic partner. I mean, I'm sure that I didn't just dream it up literally, but I'd never heard of it. So but that came in interesting later, later, a little factoid that somebody brought that to my attention. So after I had that dream, I thought, oh, okay, well then I definitely need to offer this. And I thought that it was going to be a thing where um me and whomever I was taking through it were going to kind of switch places, and we were going to go up really, really high in vibration and be so expanded. And so that's kind of how I thought it was going to work. But so I was just kind of getting bits and pieces. And so why I say we're these brave group of 21 that came along this journey with me is because they came into it not really knowing what was going to happen. So they were just like, oh, okay, let's have our galactic partners integrated, right? But what I did know was going to happen is that everyone was going to get a personalized message while I was in trance. And I was kind of hoping, well, I hope, 100 people don't show up. That's going to be kind of difficult, but we'll get through it. But it was 21 people, and we did get through it. And then what happened is that the guides told me that those personalized messages in the first two integrations were actually for the group, or for most of the people in the group in some fashion. And then by the time I got to the fourth one, it was very individualized. The integration was broken into four parts, and it went over the course of 4 weeks. And the first part was just basically meeting or being introduced to these galactic partners, which I know I haven't told you what they ended up being yet. And so, but I will. And the second one was a clearing for the integration to um, have more space to take hold. And then the third one was power codes. So just codes coming through that we can receive. And the fourth was total support, which was just kind of to allow us to feel completely supported on this journey. the first week when it was just like meet our galactic partners or these galactic energies. Um, it was just for what I thought, for us to come up there and kind of like, "Hey, what are you all doing down here or up here?" But what it ended up being is that, these partners, um, actually were coming down here to be with us, and they were emphasizing to us the importance of staying here and wanting to stay here and loving our experience here on earth. And they were talking about how they enjoy, and I'm going to say, everything's in quotes, they and all that, because you'll understand later. But how they find it valuable to be here on earth, and the value of the density, and being in this experience totally immersed, and that we can get so much more out of it than we may be thinking that we can get out of it. So for me, that was a surprise, because even for me, I think I fall into this sort of thinking that, oh, everything's so great up high, and there's so much value on understanding the other side, and all of that. But I didn't really give it much thought, that how valuable it is to just be dense and compact over here. The other thing that came through very strongly was the for us to understand and just get used to that coming soon and already here, the energies are already here, where telepathy and prophecy are just the normal ways of communication. And even by prophecy, it's not even that they meant that it was like, okay, I can see 5 years into the future and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. It was more like the timelessness of the energies that are coming forward, or that we're stepping into, whatever, however it's happening. It was just like timelessness was the important message there. So what we ended up learning, the Brave 21, about galactic partners, at least in the context in which we were being visited by them and integrated, is that they were actually parts. They were our galactic parts that had been sort of in waiting for us to be prepared and in a position in which we could handle it, welcome it, and use it, frankly. So it ended up being kind of a pun. Like this whole, like I said, the galactic partner came in a dream. The sections that I had, the four sections, came while I was channeling, trying to ask, okay, how is this going to work? And so but no, at no point did I like happen to ask, oh, and by the way, what are galactic partners? I don't know why I didn't ask that, but it came in a pun. So it was like galactic parts. So I don't know. It was just like, it ended up not really being like this mysterious being that we're being connected with. It was just the a galactic part of us that was now ready to come forward, and for us to understand how that works in our body and here on earth. So that's part one.
And then
Any
one
questions or
question for you,
comments?
Janice, is that Penny, you mentioned that you had messages come in and the first two were for everyone. And Penny was curious. I don't know if you're going to get to that in your conversation, but she's wanting to know what the first two messages were for the group.
Oh, I actually meant in the first two parts. So during the whole meet the galactic energies and the clear for integration were messages that came forward, and there were so many um that I am at a loss to remember. I mean, like, definitely the main one that I remember right now is being comfortable with telepathy and prophecy, and for being fully immersed into your mission, like why you're here on earth, and to want to be here and to value it. I think Okay, so let's talk about the second part. So the clear for the integration. So what I know about that was that the clearing was talking about not just clearing like non-beneficial energies around us and within us. Like that was definitely part of it. But a bigger part happened to be the need for physical clearing. So some loss of physical material that say, and you can put two and two together and figure out what that might mean. Um, and this was super powerful for many of us. I know that a lot of people reported just feeling completely spent that week of the clearing. This is something where they receive the meditation, but I've got like specially curated music that I have an associate create exactly for this Galactic Partners integration. And so it was the meditation over the music, which just kind of really amplified the messaging, I believe, and the our ability to take it in. So, for example, the first week was a actual recording from the tuning of the King's Chamber, and then that recording was made into was added with some certain types of music and frequencies, and it's just beautiful. Just like I love it. Um, but anyway, so for week 2 it was all that clearing, and it was karmic releases. So what I saw in people's dreams, and that was the other thing, is I was able to look at dreams going through this, not only the people who were going through it, but I also went through it myself because I wanted to experience it just like everybody else was. So so looking at everybody's dreams, I definitely saw lots of karma just being kind of just wiped off the table and just kind of like dealt with in the moment. And that was so interesting because I didn't realize that past lives was going to be such a big part of that. And again, the idea of timelessness. And so of course when I talk about past lives, I mean basically concurrent or multiple dimensions at the same time, parallel existences, anything like that. When you do that clearing recording, it's actually cumulative. So as you listen to it, it helps you build up your resistance to, let's say, you the effect of non-beneficial energies or frequencies or whatever it may be on your body. So but with the clearing, like I said, it was about like physical material in our body and just kind of lightening us up a bit. So good to see some of you brave ones that went through it. I really do feel like you were brave. You were just like, okay, Janice, we'll go along with you. We don't know what this is.
I just wanted to say this is very interesting because I just listened to Paul Rudd a little bit ago, who wrote the Gene Keys,
Mhm.
and he has been doing this research and studying, and it coincides exactly with what you're saying. It's just very interesting to me that a lot of what is coming to you is also coming to a lot of other channelers, and maybe in a different way, but it's very interesting that um we're going to be seeing our galactic partners, that several of them have said that many of the um beings are actually us in the future. And other people I've heard say that this integration of being transformed here in our physical bodies is a part of the plan. It's a part of transcending. So anyway, I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take away your story, but it's just very interesting to me that it seems like it's really all the pieces are coming together.
Super
And
true, Linda. I totally agree with you that we are right now, like, I think and that's one of the cool things is that as you see a different truths coming from multiple sources, to me, it's like, okay, that enforces the truthiness, right? Is like there's many different ways we're all trying to get these messages. And yeah, I think it's awesome when you see it reflected in several places, because each person is going to receive it in a slightly different way. But the frequency and the volume of these messages are becoming more intense all the time. I totally agree. And Martha's just adding, this totally coincides with Anne's last Friday message. Totally does. You're so right, Martha. Thank you for that.
And the other interesting thing about like my messages and Anne's messages is like, I am so busy in my life that I rarely have time to listen to Anne's messages. So when somebody mentioned to me, oh, this is exactly what Anne was just saying, I was just blown away, because I thought, oh my gosh, I really didn't know that. I promise you. So I love that. Okay, so yes, and Penny, I will talk about what I'm doing next. And so I'll try to, yeah, I don't want to run out of time because I want to get to that. But okay, well, so let's talk about the third week. And this was power codes, and that was so fun for me, because it was like, okay, we suffered through the clearing. Now give us the codes. We're ready for that. And one of the things that came through was that um there may be some in the group, or maybe all, I don't know, but that weren't at that time able to receive some of the codes that came through. And so what they said is that, but you are receiving them. It's just that they are not integrating right now, and they will integrate when the time is right for you. So that kind of I think it made all of us feel better that we weren't receiving something that we weren't intended to be receiving at that time. So anyway, uh, some of the messages that came through on that one, and this was really mind-blowing to me, because some of you may know that I do a lot of work with the birth wound, and it was quite a surprise for me to receive some of this information about birth and incarnating. It was like kind of next level. And immediately after the Galactic Partner integration was done, I moved into my next birth wound transformation journey. And so I had that information going into it. So that was just really helpful for this next birth wound group. Anyway, it was about how um, beings come into the womb, and the sacredness and the power of the womb is not only sacred and powerful when it is, when somebody incarnates, when the egg is fertilized, let's say. And so the dreams that I was seeing around this was that the unfertilized egg, the womb that will not expand, let's say, is it is still a healing place, and beings use that all the time to come in and experience this life, experience the sort of, like, I'm going to say the density of Earth, but what I mean by that is just the unenlightenment of many beings here on Earth. And so they come here to learn without ever having the intention to incarnate. So this can show up as past lives that actually are still part of our memory, but they are not an incarnation memory. So that to me was just like, oh, just like so huge to me.
I'll tell you something to support that, which is interesting, is I had a dream several months ago, I had a dream that I gave birth to an angel. And I was sitting at a picnic table, and then I was with another woman, and she says, "You're about to give birth. I'm going to go get the materials." And I didn't know, of course, that I was pregnant. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm giving birth." And then all of a sudden she leaves the table, and boom, it's out. And I pull her out. And as I pull her out, the baby, she transforms into a toddler and is clearly an angel. And she says, "Yay, I'm here." And that's the dream. And it was a dream telling me. So in any case, the whole idea that the womb is active, even if it's not carrying a human baby, to me, that's a great confirmation of that.
Well, the way that those were showing up in the dreams were a flattened box, but there was like something else. I can't really remember whose dream that was, or what was the context around it, but it was a flattened box, which was, the box is a symbol for the womb. And sometimes you wouldn't really want to see something like that. However, there was something about the context of this dream that was saying that it was actually about like it's still an enlightening place to be. So it's like our womb is valuable, the base chakra is valuable, and I think that that tied into the value of being here on earth and being grounded. It's all kind of like symbolic in a way. As I understood it going through this process, is that some of our memories of incarnations are sort of a download that say uh, that make it more real for us when we actually do incarnate. Um, I and I definitely see dreams where people are cycling and they're just recycling the same wounds and they're just doing it over and over again and they're just hoping like, okay, maybe this lifetime I'll actually get to it. I definitely will get to it. And so I think that the karmic cycle is definitely a thing. And actually in the fourth session is when that was really talked about heavily. Another dream was about being coming in, but not going into a building. So if you go into a building in a dream, it's typically about birth. So these beings didn't go into the building, but they went through healing arches, like some gold arches. And I'm not talking about a a fast food restaurant. And so it's kind of like it is healing. It is healing to have this experience in the womb without incarnating. Another huge message that came through in this one, which also I had a dream about after the first one in week 3, and I had Michael Sheridan look at it just to kind of see what was coming through for him. But it was about how we at least the 21 in the group were able to channel the energy that was injected into the earth. So let's say the sun or burst of electromagnetic energy, you know, like the recent auras and all of that came through, is that they are able to receive that for those who can't receive it and sort of spread it around the earth. And when Michael channeled the dream that came forward after that, he said, yes, you're part of helping the earth become a nuclear family again. So I just thought that was just so appropriate. You know, it's just like, so channeling this healing energy is bringing healing to our whole earth family. Somebody had a dream on that week about getting serotonin injections, which I just thought was so awesome. Like, don't we all need that? Well, let me just say one more thing about week 2, the clearing. A couple of dreams that came forward for people for that one was somebody saw giant charger ports being cleaned. So, you know, that's about their connection with power and so their healing connection. All right, so now we're in week 4 where we have where it was called total support. And the one thing that I did for that one was, because it was called total support and everybody was like, it was pretty intense. Like, I'm just saying, I don't know if anybody else, no, I do know people who were going through it with me. Like they were saying, this is like powerful. This feels intense. I feel so expanded and all of this. And so I thought for the 4th one, it was called total support. So I felt like I needed to call in some extra support. So I got Melissa Brunheller, who we work with in a lot of different ways, come in and just sort of support the energy of the group and hold us in, and she described it as holding us in a bowl of just sort of safety. And it's a good thing that she did that, because during that integration, it was the energy has brought us through this like actual like multi-dimensionality. So there was a focus throughout also, and or like, I guess when I say focus, I mean some of the messages that were coming through were about, like I said, timelessness, but also just like we're in different dimensions and we need to get used to how this feels. And so the meditation brought us from one place, let's say on Earth, and then it brought us onto a star, and then it brought us somewhere else. And so it was kind of like helping us practice feeling the multidimensionality. And I know that sounds just like odd, like how do you even practice that? But it was because it was going to start happening to us. So having that context and the feeling of safety when that does happen, and the feeling of groundedness was really important for all of us. And so I know that several people after that, and I experienced it myself too, just these feelings of, wait a second, I'm in different dimensions at the same time. It was, and it could feel a little bit odd, I guess, but because we could draw on that experience, it was really helpful and not scary.
So, and by the way, Melissa, if you want to raise your hand, Melissa's here, who helped with, I'll just, so everybody meets Melissa too. This is Melissa who will help you with this part of your experience. Is that right? Yeah. Love
Yes.
Melissa.
That's the Melissa. Thank you so much for that. It was so helpful. And so like she kind of helped us not get too high, if you know what I mean. Because especially in the first part, we did all kind of expand and feel very airy. And so on this one, it had the potential to do that to us, but her holding that space was so important because it kept us in this bowl so that we didn't go too far out of, into these other dimensions.
You said raising chickens and selling eggs was interesting, as eggs sold in stores are mostly unfertilized, so experience growth by coming in without incarnating.
So his was one of the dreams that went along with the third, with the power codes, because it was about the unfertilized egg, and how you don't have to be fertilized to kind of like experience let's say the atrocities here on Earth, but also just the love too, and just the whole experience of having a life. So and I think that at one point I was asking the guides, well, but how do what is the part of men then? Because now we're talking about, oh, how important it is to have a womb and everything. And then actually another male in the group had a dream that he literally had a cervix and female like ovaries and things like that, and that they were being worked on and they were being cleared. And so I feel like it doesn't matter if we're male or female. um we still carry the masculine and feminine. Like, I mean, that's your whole thing. And in soul convergence is just like, we are masculine and feminine. Like, it doesn't matter any kind of gender that you identify with or you don't identify with it. It's just like the value of the groundedness and the experience of Earth.
But that's really interesting, because I remember hearing somewhere that that it was from some, I don't know, it was a biologist or some kind of but it was a scientist who was talking about how all humans actually, like the embryos or whatever, start as females, and then some of them diverge into males. So it's like the males have the female stuff inside them still. So it's interesting that your dreams are showing that those things we think of as that the men don't have that, but it sounds like they actually do have those organs, but just they show up differently.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to say about the total support part was that some galactic beings did show up, and a couple of people, it told me afterwards, which confirmed this, about so some Andromedans came in, and Orion. And another thing that somebody else told me after this was done, and I was just I think we were sitting around Molly's fire, and somebody there had mentioned, oh yeah, I just read this it was like a light language book or something like that. And by the way, I completely forgot to mention is sometimes light language is channeled through me, and that comes up during these integrations as well. But she said, oh yeah, so those are Orions, those ones that specialize in light language. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's my galactic lineage according to my Akashic records. So that just like, that was such a neat bonus for me to learn. Oh yeah, and so this is the last thing that I remember, at least, that I wanted to talk about for the total support one, is a message that came through was a new way of experiencing compassion. And that I didn't really know what that meant, and it really wasn't explained. And but I just had somebody who was on GPI. I was just doing her dream yesterday, and she shared with me a dream that she had had about like symbolically, it was libraries, and it was this I forget the library. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? But this famous Greek library in Greece that like burned down and lost a lot of its historical records. I know somebody here is gonna like pop on and say what it is. But that dream was about her ability to well, it was about lost records, about the lost records of, oh, Alexandria. Yes, thank you, Becky. The lost records for compassion. So this person, I know that we all have the ability to tap into the Akashic records, especially now. It's kind of like they're wide open. And I've heard you talk about that, Anne. Some people have, you know, I guess they're more used to working within the Akashic records, and they can pull out more information. So that I know for sure a couple people on in the GPI have special kind of like, as it was described in an Akashic Records reading to one of them, unfettered access to the Akashic Records. So that was just really interesting to see somebody else from GPI being shown in their dreams that they have this kind of ability to bring out this new type of compassion, which I still don't really know what it is. But when we were talking about what we thought that might mean, is kind of the idea of way back in the past, there were really people who were willing to fall on the sword for other people, like for groups of people, and to really advocate, stick up for, defend children and just, citizens. And so, that might be at least part of this new kind of compassion that we're going to see going forward as we continue to heal our nuclear family on Earth.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like an incredible experience that you guys had for sure. I love that the messages were, I mean, like they're relevant to everyone, not just the people who were in with you at that time, that the messages that you brought through. And it's, it's increasingly important right now, that I think that's why we're getting these, it's coming in different ways and in different, so that we can all access deeper aspects of ourselves and deeper parts of ourselves in order to move into these higher states of consciousness. I just think it's really, really exciting. So yeah, so I think people would love to know about what's coming next.
Okay, well then I would love to tell you what's coming next. So so I am going to do another galactic partner integration. But I haven't figured out, and when I say figured out, it hasn't come to me in a dream yet, let's say, exactly how that's going to work. But I am going to space it out because it was pretty intense, and the people that came on, they had the capacity to handle it, the intensity of it. And I knew that those who came would be able to handle whatever it was, because I requested that that's what would happen. I will either just provide the recording for them to listen to because it's already been cleaned up and mastered. And then I want to offer for the next 3 weeks, just like group channeling. So so then I want people to bring their questions or curiosities, and it can be just a personal question, or it can be just a question about like, oh, what should people on Earth do? I mean, that's just probably not what somebody's going to ask, but just something like that. And then everybody will be able to ask their questions throughout that time and just benefit from the messages that are coming forward for those who are involved in that program. And so then same thing with clearing, and that way everybody gets kind of the support that they need while this is coming through, because like the dreams were just coming in so rapidly. I thought, maybe someone will have one or two dreams that related, but it was like immediately. And even the day before the meditation even happened, people would have these dreams about what they were about to hear. So yeah, I just think like it's important for there to be sort of a protracted period of time to allow the integration, to allow the understanding of the messages, and otherwise it's just kind of like they get blasted with it, and then next week I'm moving on to the next thing. So this is just kind of like way more of that total support piece of it. And if you can't make it in person, you can have the recording, and you can still have plenty of opportunities to come to the group channeling. I'll be in trance for that, and so it won't really be filtered through me. For the most part, I'm left out of the equation. Of course, you can always book me for a dream interpretation or something if you really have to know what it is, what your dream is. I always leave time for everybody to just kind of share, and just share their experience for other people to hear, because some people are maybe a little reluctant to share in groups, and a lot of people just have their cameras off and they just enjoy being part of the group without really speaking. But for those who like to speak about their experience, it really does help others kind of like remember, oh yeah, that was happening to me, and wow, that's an interesting message.
Thank you so much. I think it's just, yeah, it's amazing that to have had that come through and all of the learning that you did. It feels like we are being brought into understandings that are much more cosmic in nature. I could speak for myself that is true, it's almost like they've laid the foundations for us to start to understand some of the basics about like way back when The Secret became popular and it was manifestation and get in the vortex. And now we're like, yeah, and by the way, here's your galactic partners and you're all one with the universe. So we are growing in really cool ways in terms of the kinds of messages that we are bringing through these days, which I just love. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing the experience. And for those of you who were part of her experience, who came to support her, and for those of you who are new, who were curious, I'm sure you were fascinated by what happened at this experience. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. And thank you, Janice. I really appreciate it. How can people reach out and find you? What is your contact information?
Well, you can find me on my website, which is gentlehealingdreams.com.
Okay.
It's
Perfect.
there, but yeah, go to my website because it has all the great things in it.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys next Wisdom Soup, which is always on the second Thursday of the month. And we will see you next time. Bye, you guys. Thank you. Bye, Janice.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.